I had 13 lovers in 1 year. In my own bed. In my own house. While the bastard went off to work every morning believing he was still a respected man. And no, it wasn't for pleasure. It wasn't addiction. It was resentment. Cold, calculated. The irony is that if he hadn't dragged that slut into our story, I never would have become who I am now. Before that, I was the perfect girlfriend. The one who made breakfast. The one who left little notes on the fridge. The one who waited with dinner ready. The one who believed that stupid fairy tale that love can fix everything. Until one random Tuesday, I found out. It wasn't a movie scene. There were no screams, no tears. Just a notification he forgot to close on his phone. A photo that wasn't meant for me. A body that wasn't mine. And a sentence that still buzzes in my head like a fly. Last night was amazing. That's when I understood everything. That's when I realized the man I slept next to was a full-time actor. That I had been the dumbest spectator of all. While I thought about weddings, he thought about bodies. While I dreamed about the future, he was undressing somewhere else. And that day, I didn't confront him. No. I smiled. I made him coffee. I kissed him goodbye. I wished him a good day. I watched him walk out the door, and when he left, I sat on our bed and laughed alone. A silent laugh. The kind that's born when something breaks forever. That same afternoon, I downloaded my first dating app. I wasn't looking for love. I was looking for balance, emotional justice, silent revenge. Call it whatever you want. I called it symmetry. The first match came in less than 3 minutes. The second in 5. The third before I even finished my coffee. That's when I understood something else. It wasn't that I had stopped being desirable. He was the one who had stopped deserving me. The first time I brought one of them home, my legs were shaking. Not from fear, from adrenaline. I walked through the living room as if the bastard were hiding behind the curtains. I looked at his side of the closet. His toothbrush, his work clothes hanging there. Everything was still in place, like the perfect set for a much bigger lie. When the doorbell rang, I knew there was no turning back. I won't go into unnecessary details. I'll just say this. After so long feeling invisible, I existed again. And that's dangerous for a wounded woman. After the first came the second, then the third. Then I stopped counting by weeks and started counting by names. They all walked through the same door. They all stepped on the same floor. They all sat on the same couch where the bastard watched games on Sundays. And the most twisted part of all, I cleaned up afterwards, like nothing happened, like there were no traces, like there were no ghosts. From Monday to Friday, I was the perfect girlfriend. From 8 to noon, when he went to work, I was someone else. Quick breakfast, hot shower, different perfume, and my phone vibrating on the nightstand. I didn't choose them for love. I chose them for contrast. Tall, short, quiet, arrogant, married, single. One talked to me about poetry. Another could barely spell. I wasn't looking for connection. I was looking for proof. Proof that I too could break without bleeding. And every time the bastard came home tired, complaining about his boss, the traffic, his life, I looked at him and thought, if you only knew what happened in this very bed 4 hours ago. Sometimes I wanted to tell him, just to see his face. But no, this wasn't about confession.
This was about control. The number grew without me planning it. There was no goal of 13. I didn't set out to do anything. It just happened. One led to another. 1 month it was 1, then 2, then I stopped being surprised. And the darkest part of all this, the part that I still struggle to admit, is that I started enjoying the double life more than the revenge. The lie stopped being a punishment and became a game. I controlled schedules. I deleted messages. I chose who came in and who didn't. I was the one with the secret. The bastard slept beside me every night without suspecting that in that very same place, just hours earlier, I had been another woman. Not his woman. Not the same one. Another. And meanwhile, that sentence wouldn't leave my head. Last night was amazing. That's where it all began. And it was nowhere near over.
What I didn't say before is how a lie survives when it stops being an impulse and becomes routine. Because at first it was adrenaline, yes, but after that it was logistics. Cold, clean, almost professional. I learned schedules with surgical precision. I knew exactly how long the bastard took to get to work. I knew when he might come back for something he forgot. I knew which days he was more tired and which days he came home earlier. I adjusted my life to a perfect choreography of betrayal. I blocked numbers, changed names, used silent notifications, hidden apps inside utilities folders, conversations set to auto-delete, different perfumes depending on the time slot, windows open afterward, sheets changed before he came back, everything measured to the millimeter. The house became my stage. Sometimes while one of them rushed to get dressed in the hallway, I would glance at the clock in the dining room and think, in 20 minutes the bastard will be back, and no one will notice a thing. And no one ever noticed. I stopped noticing too, because that's the point where everything truly breaks, when you no longer feel guilt. At first my hands would shake, then they didn't. At first I showered twice. Then once was enough. At first, I searched his face for signs that he suspected something. Later, I didn't even do that. It wasn't just revenge. It was total disconnection. While he talked to me about his day, I nodded and thought about messages I had sent hours earlier. While he held me, I was no longer there. While he said, "I love you," I thought, "If you only knew." And the number kept growing. I didn't keep a list, but there came a point when I couldn't remember all the names by heart. 13 in 1 year. 13 different bodies in the same house. 13 stories that meant nothing. 13 ways to confirm that I felt nothing for him anymore. The bastard remained punctual, predictable, confident. He thought the storm had passed. He thought I had forgiven him. He believed in that fake peace that settles in right before everything collapses. I, on the other hand, believed in nothing. Until one day, without drama, without background music, without tears, I woke up and knew I was ready. Not to confess, not to fight, to leave. That morning, I watched him eat breakfast across from me. I listened to him complain about work, about people, about the entire world, and I saw him as small, distant, like a stranger wearing the face of someone I had once loved.
And that's when I understood it. I no longer cared about winning. I had already won 13 times. That night, I didn't bring anyone home. For the first time in months, the house was silent. Not because it was empty, but because it was full of an ending. When the bastard came home, he noticed nothing strange. He never noticed anything. I asked him to sit down, just like that. No shaking, no scandal, no prepared tears to manipulate him. I said, "I'm leaving." Nothing more. First, he laughed. Then he frowned. Then he asked why. I looked him straight in the eyes without anger, without fire, without anything, and said, "Because I don't feel anything for you anymore." That was what hurt him the most. I didn't tell him about the 13. I didn't tell him about the house. I didn't tell him about the mornings. I didn't tell him about the bed. He didn't deserve that show. The revenge was already complete. I didn't need applause. He tried to argue, to promise, to explain, to apologize, to pull on the past like it still meant something, but it didn't. I had already left him long before. That night, I just removed the body. I packed my bag in silence. He watched me as if searching for traces of the woman he had once known. He didn't find her, and that destroyed him more than any scream ever could. Before I walked out, he said, "I don't recognize you." I barely smiled and thought, exactly. When the door closed, I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel sadness. I didn't feel guilt. I felt something far more dangerous, calm. Today, when I look back, I'm not proud of anything I did, but I don't regret it either. The bastard got exactly what he planted, no more, no less. He broke me first. I simply learned how to break without bleeding. And then I left.